Hi there, welcome to the channel. I'm Shane, and today this came off. This is the Ramshaft rock shaft assembly, the right hand Ramshaft bracket, the valve chest. I had to take off the left hand cover as well, disconnect all the pipe components, all that kind of stuff. It was a journey, let me tell you. If you're new here to the channel, this is my uncle's David Brown 990 over here, and it's got problems with the hydraulics. When you crank the tractor, the hydraulics go straight to the top and they won't come down. I think the spool valve right there on the valve chest is stuck, and I had to take all of this off to get to that. So if you want to see the adventures in me getting this off, stay with me. I've already in previous videos taken out the components here for the selector, depth control, height control, push rods, and in the previous video to this one, I took off the quadrant or the control handle right here. This shaft is very heavy. You will need something like a crane, engine hoist, cherry picker, whatever you call it, to pick this up. It is quite heavy, solid steel. Don't get a hernia trying to manhandle this. Use tools. Save your back. All right, I'm gonna lift this up and lock it in place. Give myself some room here. Full disclosure, I already had to have this off once. I had to drill it out just to get this pin out. This is a new roll pin, new spring pin. I think the hole diameter, by default, I think is a 1/4 inch. I drilled it out to one size bigger. Ow. Ow. That may have got it right there. Yeah, I got it. All right, that's off. Yeah, I had to put a new pin in there. When I was trying to drill out the old one, I drilled it in at an angle, so I had to enlarge the hole. There are some shims back here behind this. 3 of them in my case. 1, 2, 3. All right, now we will attempt to get the sensing unit off. It's just 6 bolts. Okay, I did not break that bolt. Good. Did not break that bolt. That's a longer one than the little one. Okay, so that's one side. 2 bolts of the same size and one longer one. The longer one goes to the rear. And I have previously in a previous video went ahead and disconnected the sensing unit cable from the inside. If you're interested in seeing that, go watch that video. Now, the other tractor, the other David Brown you've seen on the, I can't talk. The other David Brown you've seen on the channel did not have a plate underneath this as a kind of a gasket, an aluminum gasket, so to speak. I'm interested to see if this one does. Let's try not to get the dirt down in there. No, it does not. Oh, yes, it does. Look at there. There's the gasket. There's that aluminum plate. Interesting. I'm getting trash down in there. Oh, I'm going to need to clean this out carefully. Now it's time to take off this cover over here. I do have a video on my channel where I do this in detail. Since this cover's coming off, this lock latch has to be unlatched. Otherwise, the arm will fall and you can possibly get hurt. Went ahead and just loosened this one because it's difficult to get to with this in the way. There's a nut on the back side of this one. Maybe I should have had the top cam going on this one. Oh well, sorry. Come back here. Take that one out. Replace it with a long one. Take this one out. Put in up top. We use those as handles. There's 2 bolts on the bottom here that are not through bolts. These are into the casting. All right, I've got a strap on here now. It's connected way up there to the front axle to keep tension on this bar, pulling it that way, because once these bottom bolts are loose, this whole shaft may rock forward, especially since the sensing unit is out. And I don't want that to happen just yet. I did not tighten these all the way down when I fixed this because I knew I had to take it all the way back out. But having it available, having the lift latch available for things was quite useful. All right, that should be free now. There it comes. Like I say, use the long bolts for handles. All right, to take this off, there's one component inside the lube pipe that you have to get out of the way so it doesn't fall into the axle casting down in there. This is the cover plate on top that holds the bypass and hold valves. I've taken that off already. See if we can get a shot of the lube pipe down in there from the top side. You can just barely see it. You can see the bolt passing through right there, the side of the housing, attaching to the back of the lube pipe. And on the front of it, on the front of that lube pipe is a hole where it's basically splash lubrication. We're going to hook a wire into the front of that hole and pass it back up through this hole right here and attach it to one of the bolts over there. Used to using a piece of electrical wire that I've got bent right there into a little hook. Fairly long piece of wire. This is the lube pipe right here. You see the bolt that passes through the axle and connects to the back of the lube pipe. All it does is push it into the hydraulic valve chest. This is a thing that's done by feel. I think I've got it. I think I might got it there. All right, so I've got the wire passing out the top of the kidney-shaped plate there, hole, and I've ran it over here to some bolts on the fender and just wrapped it around the bolts just to keep it tight. Purpose of this is to try to keep that lube pipe that's on the side of the valve chest from dropping into the axle casting once the valve chest is moved out of the way. All right, let's undo the lock nut. It's a 1/2 inch. There we go. Yeah. Little PB blaster did its work. Just going to back this lock nut off. All right, we've released the lock nut. Now we unscrew the bolt approximately 8 turns. How am I going to count 8 turns, you wonder? I have to go quarters. So if I need 8 turns and I can only go quarter turn each time, I need 8 times 4 is 32 turns. It's 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 14. We've got a problem. That's 14 turns. We got a problem. This other deal right here has come loose. Okay, I'm gonna have to twist myself like a pretzel. On this one, there's a little bit of a problem. The fitting, I guess you would call it, that the bolt screws through is loose. And so I'm gonna have to hold it with a pair of pliers to get it to stay still while I unscrew. That shouldn't be that big of a deal, but just FYI, it could happen to anybody, I guess. 1, 2, 30, 31, 32, 32 it is. All right, you can see from that viewpoint right there, the bolt is now disconnected from the lube pipe. This is the pressure pipe that's on the front side of the valve chest, and we need to take these 2 bolts out. They're 9/16, I believe. I'm not going to lose these into the casting. Almost. The instructions say to take that out. I have never taken that out. I've always just turned it to the side there so that those little ears, or whatever you call them, will pass by that block. It's never given me an ounce of trouble. Okay, I've got the engine hoist hooked up. Don't try to do this without one. This shaft right here is very heavy. It will hurt you. I've got a load leveler. I've got straps hooked down to the Ramshaft, rock shaft, and we've got straps holding up the arms here. Should I be using an impact? Probably not. All right, those are now loose. These are all 3/4 bolt heads. And that one came right out. That bolt looks okay. All right, I'm gonna get it removed, and then I'm gonna put it back in a few threads. I imagine I will have to bump this a little bit to get it free. There we go. These are longer bolts. So too short, too long. You probably can't see it, but I did put the cam back in. That cam plate on the end of the shaft right here, I did put it back in and put the nuts back on it. When I'm removing this Ramshaft assembly, I don't want the right-hand Ramshaft casting to fall off the end of it. So I put that cam back on there to kind of hope that it keeps it on there. What's holding it back? I'm such a bonehead, I forgot the dang strap. All right, we're good to go, I think. All right, I didn't bend anything there. We're out. let's get ready to accept this thing on the workbench. This right here is the valve chest. And there's all kind of dirt around it. That's okay. If y'all are going to use an engine hoist, make sure that it's extended as far as you're going to need it. Okay, now I can move it on in. All right, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. All right, now to unhook it all. As you can see there, this thing was out. If I hadn't had the cam in here, this would have probably fallen. There was a good 3/4 inch gap between the edge of this and the casting. This has shifted over that way quite a bit. So I recommend leaving the cam in if you're going to be moving it. I'll get these 2 bolts out of the cam, get the cam off, and then I'll remove the right-hand ramshaft. Okay, cam plate is out of there. It's time for us to get this separated. There we go. Leave that O-ring in place. The O-rings so far look okay. Here is the valve chest. The bottom of it, at least. I think it's David. Was interested in these numbers on the bottom. S3 17059 9773. Everything looks intact under here. I am going to have to take this completely apart to figure out why the selector is seized up. The forks look to be plastic. I'm glad I didn't pry on those. Let's try something real quick. Let's see if the actual spool valve is actually stuck. Diagnose it right here, right now. That's a good way for me to do that without hurting anything. All right, the spool valve was most definitely stuck on this. Was being the word to use here. However, it is no longer stuck. This was good stuff. All right, so basically overnight, you saw the last part there where I was messing around with the spool valve. It was definitely stuck. I couldn't get it to move. No matter what, I didn't video it, but I took a punch and I actually tapped down here on the bottom of the spool valve and got it to move just a little bit. Got me thinking, okay, I can get it to move a little bit, so use some PB Blaster right here. Sprayed it in there. Kept doing that every hour or so. It soaked down in there, soaked down in there, soaked down in there. So basically what I did after I treated it with this first round of penetrating fluid, so I came back here on the back side, right here on the spool. This is the bottom of the spool valve right here. Take a punch, put it right there, and I just tapped it forward a little bit more. It'd start moving. It'd get stuck in this position right here. It'd move it out of the hole a little bit, so I'd come over here on this side, tap it back down in the hole, and I just continued that process for a little while of tap, tap, just moving it back and forth in the bore. And guess what? I came out here this morning. Look at there. It's actually returning on the spring. spool valve is no longer stuck. It actually moves freely in the bore, and I'm able to rotate it in the bore. It's very, very good. So I'm hoping that I will not have to take the spool valve out to do anything. I am going to check the adjustment of it. The numbers on the bottom of the spool valve say 100. I'll do another video on the adjustments and everything and taking this all apart and everything. But yeah, I think we're in good shape right now with the spool valve. It was stuck. That is the reason why when the tractor was cranked and the arms would just shoot straight up, is the spool valve was stuck in the down position on this tractor. That was it. But now, spool valve moves freely. So one thing to look for, and I've had a lot of comments on this on the channel, on my lift raises straight to the top, won't go down, just like this one will, or my lift won't raise, that kind of thing. From the kidney-shaped hole on the top of the axle on the tractor, you can see these two valves, hold and bypass. But you can also see, if you look very closely and kind of down at an angle, you can see this, the top of the spool valve. When you operate the lever, you should be able to see that spool valve moving up and down, up and down, up and down, like that. If you do not see any movement, or you can put your finger up in here and feel, see if there's any movement whatsoever. If there isn't, probably got a stuck spool valve. Don't take my advice for it though. I'm just a novice at all this. I'm a tech guy by trade, not a mechanic. I think we're in good shape on why it was not lowering. Spool valve was definitely stuck. So I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for watching and have a great day.